network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
I have the money with me, £900, right?
Sean.
The man takes the cash and leaves.
the BBC paid illegal migrant people smugglers 1,200 quid. Is that taxpayers' money? And
what that did mean is going to get to stay in the UK. That's why.
Sir Keir Starmer's deal with France isn't worth the paper it's written on. Plus,
Seeing the biggest landslide, the biggest majority for a Labour Party since Tony Blair's in 1997.
a TV exclusive, I reveal that the father of Sir Keir Starmer's top aide set up a company that was paid around £6.5 million by the Irish government for what appears to be asylum seeker accommodation. Also,
£22 billion black hole.
The £22 billion black hole of £22 billion.
Well, Rachel Reeves' black hole is now 50 billion quid. Is it game over for the Chancellor? Plus, a new sign emerges warning people about phone theft. Are people in denial about crime in Britain? And devastating wildfires in holiday hotspots. On my panel tonight, we have got Director of Popular Conservatives Mark Littlewood, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. And can you tell me, please, what happens next here? Oh, get ready, Britain, here we go. New BBC motto, cash the gangs. Next.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom. Back to Patrick shortly. First, though, a look at the headlines. And more than 150 migrants have crossed the Channel today, just hours after the UK and France signed a new returns deal. Border Force vessels Typhoon and Ranger picked up multiple groups, with dozens arriving in Dover by midday. But questions are already being raised over a potential loophole in the agreement, which could allow some to avoid deportation by claiming human rights protections or saying they're under 18 years of age. Dame Angela Eagle has dismissed those loophole concerns, but critics warn it could derail efforts to smash the gangs. We spoke earlier to Shadow Culture Minister Joe Robertson. Here's what he had to say.
I think people have become very, very weary of governments of different colours. I accept that we didn't do enough, coming up with these gimmicks and expecting to hoodwink people. 1 in, 1 out. I mean, it said if it does what it says on the tin, 1 in, 1 out isn't going to reduce the number of migrants in this country, because 1 in means there'll be 1 out the other side. So I don't think it's going to work. We don't even have numbers. The government aren't even telling us how many people will be deported under this scheme. So if they can't even give us the numbers, how do we know whether it's successful or not?
The Prime Minister has said he doesn't recognise claims that Labour will need to raise taxes this autumn. It follows a warning to Chancellor Rachel Reeves that she may have to break her promise to avoid tax hikes, as a reported £50 billion black hole has opened up in the public finances. The National Institute of Economic and Social Research says Labour is now set to miss its own targets and spending plans. It's fuelling growing speculation of new tax rises, including talk of a potential wealth tax. But the Prime Minister and Rachel Reeves both insist they're focused on delivering growth and not raising taxes. Donald Trump is reportedly planning face-to-face talks with Vladimir Putin as soon as next week. According to the New York Times, a three-way meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky could follow. It's after Trump has briefed European leaders today on a call. It also comes after Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, met with Russian President Vladimir Putin, with President Trump later writing on Truth Social that great progress had been made. The White House, though, hasn't commented on those reports in the New York Times. And a US Army base is on lockdown tonight after a serving soldier there opened fire on his colleagues, injuring 5 people. That gunman has now been identified as Sergeant Cornelius Radford and is accused of shooting his fellow soldiers at their workplace using a personal handgun. It happened at Fort Stewart in Georgia. That is one of America's largest military installations. All 5 victims are now stable, though 3 have needed surgery. Senior commanders have said in a press statement in the last few minutes it could have been far worse, but praised the brave soldiers who stepped in and stopped the attack. Here, the runway at Birmingham Airport has now reopened after an earlier aircraft emergency shut down operations. A small plane's landing gear failed earlier today, causing its undercarriage to collapse on touchdown. 1 person suffered minor injuries. Flights were grounded for hours as investigators examined the aircraft. But the scene has now been cleared. Operations resuming just before 8 p.m, though delays and disruption are still expected. And MasterChef is back on TV, but without the flavour that fans are used to. The new series dropped on iPlayer today, despite both Greg Wallace and John Turode being sacked last month after a misconduct report upheld complaints against them. While they still appear throughout the pre-recorded episodes, their usual screen time has been noticeably cut. The BBC says airing the show was the right thing to do for the amateur chefs who took part. But critics and some women involved in the investigation have called it a bitter aftertaste. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you for the news at 10.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening. The BBC paid £1,200 to a people smuggler. Presumably, that is taxpayers' money. The Beeb decided to copy GB News by going undercover to snare some human traffickers who were helping people break into Britain across the Channel. Now, they did get some decent content that showed not only how brazenly Iraqi Kurdish gangsters operate in the migrant camps in northern France, but also that they have connections here in Britain, specifically in Birmingham.
So in about 10 minutes' time, we hope we're going to have a rendezvous to hand over the money to one of the smugglers or a member of the smugglers' network here in the UK, inside Birmingham Station here.
I have the money with me, £900, right?
Sean,
The man takes the cash and leaves.
Well, you'll notice them handing money over to one of them at a train station in Birmingham there. They also did the same in a migrant camp in France.
But when our smuggler appears, he seems relaxed, on his own turf. He asks for a final payment, a total of €1,400 for the crossing.
One BBC reporter could obviously smell a controversy here, so he said this.
So that's it. He's taken the money and left the station. Now, you may well be asking why we would pay money to criminals. We believe it is the only way that we can gain access to the gang and expose its network, not least its network here in the UK.
Well, he said it's the only way to access the gang. Complete rubbish. You might remember that a few weeks ago I was able to do this. Mala, my name is Patrick Christys. I do a show on GBNews, and you are a human trafficker. We've got your face, we've got your details, we've got everything that we need to report you to the police. So the French police are going to have all of this information. Just come on, talk to me. Why not talk to me? Look, the game's up. It's finished. Just talk to me. Come on. Why do you help people break into Britain? Come on, Mala. You know, talk to me. We know who you are. Come on. You might as well. Where are you from? And I was also able to do a bit of this. And you are a human trafficker, aren't you?
Are there?
Yes. Why are you bringing people illegally to Britain?
Go.
Why are you bringing people illegally to Britain? Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain? Do you feel any kind of conscience about that at all? Do you feel bad about that at all? Or not? No? You don't? No? I think we can catch up with him, probably. Hello, come back. We were able to provide their phone numbers, records of conversation, the amount of money they quoted us, so proof that they were indeed in the human trafficking game, some of their faces and some of their voices to both British and French authorities without giving those vile criminals a single penny, let alone what I imagine was taxpayers' money. The BBC has form for this kind of stuff. In March, they were accused of paying taxpayers' money to the family of a Hamas official for a Gaza documentary. Now, the BBC has adapted Sir Keir Starmer's motto from smash the gangs to give cash to the gangs. Twice I've been to northern France to report on the Channel migrant crisis, once to infiltrate 3 separate human trafficking gangs. Neither time did I give a single penny to anyone. The Beeb did not need to do that. But before we go to my panel on this, I want to give you a very quick update from our very own GB News Home and Security Editor, Mr. Mark White. Mark, thank you very much. Right, you have been monitoring the situation in the Channel today. We're going to talk about this a bit more at 10 p.m. when we pick apart this deal, but it would appear that, that this one-in, one-out deal hasn't been much of a deterrent so far.
No, we certainly got some small boat migrants coming across today, although I have to say I'm a bit surprised because only 155, I say only 155, that's still a number, but compared to the days when we've seen 800, 900, even 1,000 or more come across, given that it was flat calm out in the English Channel for only 2 migrant boats to cross, well, maybe they are getting the message. Maybe this is a deterrent, Patrick. Josh, you know, I don't think they even are factoring in what Sir Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron have hatched up here, because the fact of the matter is that in terms of the risk of being sent back to France if you cross illegally in a small boat, is so negligible that the people smugglers won't even consider that, I wouldn't imagine, as any kind of impediment to the business model at this stage. And if it becomes more than that, then they'll tell those potential customers of theirs that, look, you know, there is very little chance that at the end of the day you'll be considered for relocation back to France. And even if you do, you've got lots of human rights lawyers and NGOs and other activists that will step in on your behalf and advocate for you and will pick apart this treaty and be able to put it before the courts to ensure that the chances of you ever being returned to France or any other country for that matter are very limited.
Many women and children today, Mark, or was it just the lads?
Didn't see a single one, Patrick.
Lovely stuff. OK, well, that's brilliant. Well, Mark, thank you very, very much. And well done yet again for bringing us the unfiltered truth there, however uncomfortable it might be for people in number 10. GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Thank you. Right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Businessman and activist Adam Brooks joins us. We've also got Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, and journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Right, OK, Mark, so did the BBC really have to give 1,200 quid's worth of taxpayers' money to some human trafficking gangs, do you think, or should they maybe have not done that?
Yeah, I'm pretty flabbergasted. I must admit I'm no expert on this, but I'm surprised that that's legal, actually. I wasn't aware that journalists could go around giving money to known criminals, but who knows? No, they didn't have to do it. You compared and contrasted with your own investigative journalism. I mean, I will say this for them, right? It's not often that I leap to the defence of the BBC. I want Border Force doing this.
Yes.
I mean, you know, journalists, yourself, I guess the BBC, despite the use of this money, are trying to expose the truth. But we need our security forces to be involved in doing this. And that probably does involve the transfer of money in the same way that police officers sometimes give money to get tips from snitches and grasses and the rest of it. So why is this being left to Patrick Christys and the BBC to protect our borders? I haven't heard anything from Border Force about how they're infiltrating these people. Seems quite easy. I mean, I wouldn't want to understate the extent to which you another journalist put yourself
That was
at
one of
risk.
the points I was trying to prove, actually, really, is how easy it is.
I would have thought we could be arresting dozens and dozens of people a day if they were just willing to do what you and the BBC were willing to do.
Exactly. And again, look, I do want to say, by the way, I've watched that BBC thing. It is very good, right? They get some really good footage, and ultimately, you know, it's all very well and good sitting here and knocking other news outlets like we do quite often when they don't deliver the goods. I think it was good. The quibble really is over.
It's the money.
It's the fact that they've decided to, it seems, ship a load of taxpayers' cash to a vile Kurdish human trafficking gang.
Look, this isn't hard from the Home Office or the authorities. They could listen to mine and your conversation from a satellite miles above our head, wherever we are. You telling me they cannot smash these gangs? They need the boats, they need the engines, they need the life jackets. They're easily traceable things to go back and see who's paying who. It's easy to do. It beggars belief. Do they want to do this or not? The likes of yourself going there has proven how easy it is. I'm pretty angry that my taxpayers' money or my licence fee money has been given to criminals over there, especially when those people then come over here and cost me even more. But again, going back to the people smugglers, Habib Basodi, who was a taxi driver from Kent, he was found guilty of facilitating illegal immigration as part of a gang. He was given a 20-month suspended sentence.
Nice.
So you tell me the deterrent on people smuggling. If I'm over here and think, right, I'll only get a suspended sentence, I'll probably be doing it.
It's good, that, isn't it? Because when you think about that, to take it to its logical conclusion, so that guy who has been found guilty of bringing people illegally into Britain has served the same amount of time in prison as me, which is not at all. Nothing, not a day there. So remarkable, really, when you think about that.
No deterrent.
Do you think people have a right to think, you know, the BBC there, by the way, one thing I will say is apparently they spent a year doing that, right? And
yeah, they start in March 24.
I can't help but wonder, when you see that come out, how annoyed they must have been when they saw this, like, fat northern bloke rock up in Calais and just do 2 days there. But anyway, should they have been giving taxpayers' money to the Iraqi Kurds?
Well, there are expenses that have to be paid sometimes. You just have to bite the bullet, and they recognise the fact that this is not a normal thing, and they wouldn't normally want to do this. But but to get deeper into the whole thing, and to be fair to them, Patrick, your reports were brilliant, and I don't know why you haven't been snapped up by BBC, ITV, and Sky.
Well, because I want to be here.
Well, exactly. but have you had the offers?
No.
But you should be getting the offers.
We're the #1 news channel. Remember that.
But you should be getting the offers. But so. they have gone for a longer, more undercover, in-depth, to be fair. They've gone since March 2024. And at some point, because money is involved, money's the key to all this, money has to change hands. And there are other...
You're pulling a face, Mark.
Is that right?
But Panorama, if you look at...
If I want to do an undercover documentary about the drugs trade, am I able to go around buying heroin and cocaine on street corners?
They have had to do things. BBC investigations in the past. If you look at what Panorama used to do, and sad it's gone because it was a fantastic series that ran for decades.
You can't break the law, can you?
But no, it's not a question of breaking. Well, it's
that's my question. If Panorama or something like that wanted to do an undercover documentary about the drugs trade, are they allowed to use licence fee payers' money to buy heroin and cocaine? I wouldn't have thought so.
They might have. The fact of the matter is they planned a longer-term, more in-depth thing than you had the time for, and to be fair, and there's
we'll just say remarkably similar results. But
there's business of border force being there. Right. You cannot imagine English police are going to be allowed to operate on French soil.
They do in Marbella and Spain.
Handily, one of the things that the BBC documentary show, which is something we all knew, but they have, to their credit, highlighted it, is actually you have to operate on French soil because half of these lads are in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Which is a problem.
But look, just to counter that point, in southern Spain, a lot of our police do operate in Spain to try and get English gangsters that are on the Costa del Sol. So that can happen. But look, giving 1,200 quid to a people smuggler, ones that carry guns, we know they've got guns, they could buy more guns with that. Are you comfortable with that? I'm not.
Yeah, if there's a way of getting in further into that investigation, they might not have uncovered the Birmingham connection without that. There are things that have to be done.
But that's really the job for Border Force, not for the British Broadcasting Corporation.
Yes, but are the Border Force going to do that?
One thing I will say is, if our authorities were looking into these gangs and doing an operation, have the BBC just messed it up?
No,
you don't know.
In what way?
Because if our authorities maybe are looking into them and suddenly the BBC rock up, or even you, really, right, and they're in a deep operation, that could mess it up.
The thing is, I think one of the things that stood out for me, and I will just say this in all of this, is how willing... This is just my impression. How willing our authorities appear to be to let these operations run and run and run and run. And it does beg the question for me is, how long are you prepared to do that for, whilst there is this torrent of people coming across the channel? At what point do you metaphorically pull the trigger and go, we've got enough now? We've got enough now.
And then what?
And let's just go and lift them.
That's all very well.
But,
and everybody.
Well, they're in Birmingham, Nina. They're in Birmingham. They're all over the place. I mean, there's a bloke I spoke to who's in London.
How come the BBC let them go, then?
Well, because they don't have powers of arrest.
Well, exactly. So there are practical details that have to be considered.
All right. Well, there we go. Well, look, the BBC said handing money over to criminals is not something we do lightly. I don't know. Paid you Edwards for quite a while. Handing money over for criminals is not something we do lightly.
Just frequently.
But in this instance, we decided there was a public interest in doing so, as it was the only way we could further expose the gang and its wider network. Look, OK, hats off. There was some good footage there. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think you needed to pay them. But anyway, there we go. Right, well, talking of giving away things for free, yay! It's your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for a year and get a bonus, £5,000 in your bank. Now, if you happen to be an Iraqi Kurd living in the Birmingham area, please don't enter this. But it's the Great British Giveaway. And guess what? If you haven't got a mortgage or rent to pay, you can still enter and get £15,000. Here's all the details you need.
This is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year in the latest Great British Giveaway. That's right, we'll give you a cash lump sum that will cover 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an incredible £20,000. Plus, we'll add £5,000 on top of that for you to treat yourself. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 in cash instead. You have to hurry though, as lines will close on the 29th of August. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9 double T. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Still to come, well, Labour have now got a ginormous 50 billion quid black hole, so we're going to be having a little look at that.
£22 billion black hole.
The £22 billion black hole of £22 billion.
Yeah, well, now it's 50, so well done, Rachel. But up next, we dive into Britain's crime crisis. There's a new thing that's emerged on one of the busiest shopping streets in England, which is a warning about phone theft. It wasn't put there by police, it was put there by a shop that, in part, sells phones to help you out. Are we in denial about the level of crime in Britain? Stay tuned.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Are we in denial about the level of crime in Britain? It's time for the head-to-head. So, Mind the Grab is a new campaign launched along Oxford Street in London. I think it's the busiest shopping street in Britain. And it's in response to a surge of phone thefts in the area. If you're watching us on television, what you'll see there by that lady's feet is Mind the Grab. It's a big purple stripe across the floor. And it's on pavements now. And it warns pedestrians to step back from the curb and hide their phones, because obviously people drive past and nick them, don't they? But how bad is it really? Let's have a little look at the stats. So between 2019 and 2024, Westminster had 130, well, I'm just going to round it up, 132,000 phone thefts. Camden had more than 50,000, Islington had more than 32,000, and in Chelsea and Kensington there were more than 19,000. Some data suggests that one phone is nicked every 10 minutes. But it's not just London. So I wanted to have a little look about where I have a huge amount of viewers, in West Midlands, for example. So West Midlands Police, more than 8,000 phones were stolen between 2023 to late 2024. Meanwhile, back in London now, the Mayor, our dear leader, Sir Sadiq Khan, was today, making his announcement of a 50% increase to police officers in the West End. So, look, are we in denial a bit here about the level of crime in Britain? I'm joined now by former Conservative Party MP Jonathan Gullis and Martin Abrams, Labour Councillor for Lambeth Council. Thank you very much, chaps. Great to see you. Jonathan, I will start with you. Are some people in denial about the scale of crime in Britain, do you think?
I don't think people are in denial, Patrick. I think politicians, sadly, are in denial because they're so soft when it comes to actually tackling crime. In Sadiq Khan's London, for example, lawless London, we've seen stop and search decrease by around 17%. That's terrifying when we know stop and search is such a powerful tool. We've seen knife crime rapidly increase, around 58%, I think it is, in the past 3 years on its own. And this gimmick of putting these lines down the street, whilst well-intentioned, isn't actually solving the issue of those who are committing the crime. It's once again putting the onus on the law-abiding citizen to somehow have to watch out for themselves. And this is not the society we want to grow up in. And quite frankly, what we want to see is more cops on the beat, not 1,700 cut like Sadiq Khan's doing. More police stations where people can report crimes, unlike, again, Sadiq Khan's now only keeping, I think, 1 in 8 stations open for 24/7 counter-service. And we want to make sure that we are using that facial recognition technology in our cities, for example, to help lock up the criminal scumbags that need locking up.
Well, let's come back to you. Yes, OK, great. I'm going to bring in you, Martin, now. Labour Councillor for Lambeth Council. I have seen some people I do feel are a little bit in denial about it. What do you don't think that crime's getting worse, do you?
Well, Patrick, I know Jonathan used to be a teacher, so he relies on statistics and facts to deliver his points. I think what he's just come out with there is palpably untrue. Let's look at the facts. The ONS Crime Survey of England and Wales, which is the gold standard of measuring crime because it looks at trends rather than just reporting crime, showed that headline crime, and that's some of the most serious crimes like high harm and violent offences, homicide, knife crime, firearms, has declined substantially and remain very, very low relative to historical peaks and have declined over the past decade. Homicide, for example, is at its lowest since 2014. Now, if we're dealing with facts, I should also say that theft from the person has increased substantially. That is absolutely true. And police recorded shoplifting has also surged. But we need to be clear about this. The reason that theft of things like phones has increased is because there's been a massive increase in people having mobile phones, and especially high value mobile phones. So it's become an issue because of the prevalence of people having these phones. And, when we saw it historically, car theft was very, very high when people could just go in and basically hotwire a car and steal a car. Nicking a car now has become far more difficult. And as technology improves, stealing phones will become far more difficult because they'll have better technology to crack and open the phone. So it will see a reduction in that. So, when people describe London as being like a no-go area, I've lived in London for 20 years. Jonathan needs to, really get out a little bit more and go walking the streets of London. I understand that London is not a no-go area at all.
All right. Well, Jonathan, let's put that to you. I would just like to politely push back on something that you've mentioned there about the crime figures, because I'm just looking at the latest CapEx article on it here, and it says that the crime survey for England and Wales last year showed that crime rates were reducing, but the most recent crime survey for England and Wales shows an increase in crime driven by fraud and theft. So that's what I've got here. But go on, Jonathan. Do the implication that you need to get out a bit more?
Well, I mean, Martin's living in an alternative universe, but it's good to know for his residents in Lambeth that he somehow thinks crime isn't a problem. I'm sure that they'll have a very different perspective. The fact, Martin, that you just blamed the public for buying phones as the reason that phone theft is going up is just utterly absurd. It's because phone theft isn't being dealt with. It's the fact that under this mayor, one in every 170 thefts is actually being prosecuted. 1 in 170. Now, that's a report from the Policy Exchange, a well-considered think tank that even Labour politicians use. So to try and discard truth and reality is something that... Is it your Labour mayor that's shutting police counters? Is it the Labour mayor that's getting rid of 1,700 police officers, staff and PCSOs in this city? Those are truths, those are facts, those are decisions that he's made. Is it the fact that he was willing to jump on bandwagons politically and undermine confidence in armed police officers when it came to that case?
I want to put
because he's all in his self-interest.
I want to put that to Martin. Go on, Martin, come back to that.
I mean, listen, I'm not in Sadiq Khan's biggest fan club. You know, I think it's clear that, you know, there are things that the London Mayor can do better. But, you know, we need to look nationally at this as well, because we're not just looking at London. And, you know, if you recall, Jonathan Goulis was kicked out of Parliament in 2024 after his party had spent 15 years basically bringing the country to its absolute knees. Our public services...
What a boring argument. Come up with something better than that. Come on, Martin. Come up with something better than that.
Basically got rid of 20,000 police officers.
Then recruited 20,000.
Things like youth clubs. They shut Sure Start centres. They absolutely
Family hubs replace Sure Start.
Public services. And the fact that he has the brass neck to come on...
I do have the brass neck, Martin.
...and start attacking the Labour government.
Yeah, the Labour government's an absolute disaster, Martin. Look at the opinion polls.
Sadiq Khan...
You'll be lucky to keep your seat in the next elections.
Crime reduce significantly, headline crime reduced significantly.
Can I just pick you up on that, Martin? Sorry to do this, right? But I've just Googled, is crime rising in Lambeth? And I've got knife crime has seen a notable increase in Lambeth, and knife-enabled crime has gone up as well. Nearly a 22% increase in knife and gang-related crime. Violence and sexual offences remain a significant concern. So it doesn't say they've gone up. We've all seen a rise in weapon possession. Overall crime, according to one source, total number of crime incidents in Lambeth increased by 4%. That's what I've got here in front of me. Is that not true?
I'm not on here to be in complete denial about the situation we're facing.
You sound like you're in denial.
No, I'm not, Jonathan. I'm not. Listen, there are some very serious things happening in London, in other cities, where Jonathan's from as well. We seem to have a fairly unhealthy obsession with London at the moment, which I don't completely...
It's the capital city.
But if you look at the crime survey for England and Wales, the trend is for the most serious crimes to be falling significantly from the 1990s. What has changed, Patrick, is the public perception. And that's because they see visible crimes, like things like phone theft, like things like shoplifting, and the public then have a perception that crime is increasing, which
so it's the public's fault, Martin, is it?
All right, well,
the public's fault.
I'll give final word to Jonathan. I mean, so is it public perception?
Actually, Jonathan.
All right.
Oh, OK, so it's the same old... Sorry, Patrick, it's the same old boring thing of blame the Tories all the time, when actually this is a London-led city, lots of London councils, a London mayor who's the police crime commissioner, who's a complete and utter disaster and a disgrace. And when it comes to other parts of the country, no one's in denial of the issues that are going on in other parts of the country. It's just a shame that when we had, for example, Labour MPs voting against child rape gang inquiries, that there were others like me who were demanding them to take place. And what I want to see is actually tough law and order. People like me want to see the El Salvador model so we can take on the drug gangs, take on the child rape gangs, take on these petty criminals that are causing misery to our streets, repeat offenders being locked up for longer. You say this Labour government's done a good job. This Labour government's releasing violent offenders.
We've got to go. Look, guys, thank you. Well, we could obviously do a whole show on this, but thank you very, very much. Proper head-to-head there. As former Conservative MP Jonathan Gullis, Martin Abrams, Labour Councillor for Lambeth Council, thank you. OK, coming up, TV exclusive this. I reveal that the father of Sir Keir Starmer's top aide set up a company that was paid around £6.5 million by the Irish government for asylum seeker accommodation. And we are going to be talking about the Chancellor's £50 billion black hole. Stay tuned.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
There's some hot air across parts of northern Africa at the moment, and as that's feeding its way northwards, it's going to push into Spain and Portugal. And here we're going to see temperatures rising through the next few days, could get into the low 40s at times. Otherwise, there will be a spell of showery rain affecting Gibraltar perhaps on Thursday, and a few showers across Italy and also into Greece and Turkey, but slightly fewer than I'm expecting through today. And the outlook for many is looking sunny and fairly hot.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, we do have some wetter weather pushing its way through as we go through tonight and into tomorrow, but for the time being, it's still staying largely dry for many places as we go through the rest of this evening because there is high pressure still lingering across us. But then this weather system towards the northwest is making its way in across Scotland and Northern Ireland, bringing cloud, bringing rain and some strong gusty winds. Could be some heavy bursts of rain and perhaps gales in exposed spots. And that rain then feeding into northern western parts of England and Wales as we head towards dawn tomorrow as well. For many, it's going to be a milder night than last night. Temperatures generally holding up in the mid-teens Celsius, even towards the southeast, where it's going to stay dry and where it's going to be largely clear. Then through tomorrow morning, a bright start to the day across many southeastern parts, but cloudier across central western parts of England and into Wales, where we have the band of rain lingering, and that continues its way across parts of northern England too. Behind that frontal system, though, across Scotland and Northern Ireland, things will be brightening up as we go through the morning. So some sunny spells, but also a scattering of showers and still some blustery winds. The front does gradually edge a little bit further southeast, so in the far southeast of the country, it is going to turn cloudier as we go into the afternoon. But as that front makes its way across, it's breaking up, it's fragmenting. So really not a huge amount of rain for many as we go into the afternoon. Just a few showers across northern and western parts in particular. Temperatures are going to be a degree or so down compared to today. And with the cloudier skies, blustery winds and a bit of rain around, feeling fresher as well. Into Friday, and for many, it is going to be a fine day. Some decent sunshine on offer once again. But across northern parts, particularly the far north of Scotland, here it's looking blustery and it's looking quite wet. More wet weather to come across far northern parts as we go through this weekend, but further south, largely dry, often sunny and turning hotter.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back. Surprise, surprise, Rachel Reeves is back making headlines for all the wrong reasons. This time it's to do with a new report that there's a £50 billion black hole now. Economists are warning that the Chancellor will have to raise taxes to fix it. But hang on a minute. What was that big promise? Oh, no taxes for working people. No rises taxes for working people. Here was the Prime Minister today.
In the autumn, we'll get the full forecasts and obviously set out our budget. The focus will be living standards, and we will build on what we've done in the first year of this government. We've stabilised the economy, and that means interest rates have been cut now 4 times.
Oh, it's a bit of a shift there. I thought it was going for growth, and now we're just going for growth in living standards. Interesting. Well, our very own Mark Littlewood joins us now, the Director of Popular Conservatives. Thank you, Mark. OK, so does she have to raise taxes then?
That's what she's going to, I fear, conclude, but that will almost certainly make the hole even bigger. We can have this argument about whether she inherited a £22 billion black hole or not. I don't think she did. But I think we can no longer have an argument about whether the hole is now bigger. It is. She's kept digging. And the problem is this, Patrick. We are now taxing the UK economy to the max. Over my lifetime, the government has never tried to squeeze as much out of the economy in tax as it is now. Getting towards 40% of the entire economy is being squeezed out in tax one way or the other. Here's the problem. You dial that up, growth flatlines or even goes into reverse. If you put up another national insurance rise, employment will fall. If you go for a wealth tax, even more millionaires will start to flee the country. The tax dial is turned to max. If you turn it another notch, you probably won't get any more revenue. You'll just dampen growth.
Let's bring up the debt clock, shall we? Can we bring up the debt? There it is. Good. And that's a number so big that it makes you wince. But debt is rising by 5,170 quid a second. At some point, does someone call this in?
Well, yes. I mean, at the moment, we're effectively living on tick, right? So just servicing that debt is costing us more per year than we spend on the education budget. Just servicing it. We're not clearing the credit card. We're just paying the credit card fees. So that number's going to keep going up. Public spending is unsustainable. There is no way we can keep spending at this sort of level. And sooner or later, politicians of all stripes are going to have a serious discussion about what we're going to cut. And I would think, initial first blush, you've got to find £100 billion worth of savings and fast.
So what does Sir Keir Starmer mean when he says now that he's going for a growth in living standards? That's his big thing, because before it was about going for growth just economically.
Yeah.
So what's this pivot?
So I think he's going to argue, if interest rates go down a notch and you've got a mortgage, you're better off. It's now easy, right? But what we really need to see is not just the UK economy growing fast, and it's basically not growing at all. We need to see it growing faster per person. Because you've got to remember, the population's going up. So if the economy is staying at the same level, that's the same pie to share amongst more people. We should be measuring GDP per capita, income per person in Britain, and if anything, that's going down.
OK, so just finally on this then, you know, how does all of this relate directly to the viewers and listeners that we've got on this show? Might be sitting at home now, somewhere up north, somewhere in the Lake District, somewhere like that, you know, just sitting around, you know, with you know, normal incomes, normal people. How does this problem, this £50 billion black hole, affect them?
OK, likely this autumn you're going to face a tax rise which probably won't work, but somewhere or other they're likely to come for you. So put a few £100 aside to pay your tax bill. But the problem isn't really this autumn. The problem's not so much for those people watching, it's for their kids, because over 10, 15 or 20 years, this is completely unsustainable. And the one thing every economist will tell you is that if the situation is unsustainable, it won't be sustained. Now, we've got to decide whether we're going to tackle this now or whether we're going to go down the same path that Greece went down some years ago. And at that point, you really do have a crisis.
Didn't they end up taking money out of people's bank accounts?
It was absolutely ludicrous and disastrous. And the problem is that, to use a medical analogy, essentially, the UK economy has cancer, and we're treating it with aspirin. And if you don't treat cancer fast, it gets worse. Get on with it now, rather than just delay it.
Well, Mark, thank you very much. Now, of course, Labour will say, and there is absolutely a huge degree of truth to this, that whilst things might have not got better under Rachel Reeves, she did inherit a bit of a mess, to say the least, from the Conservatives, who did not exactly paint themselves in glory when it came to sorting our economy out. Right, OK, very shortly we've got a bit of this.
It's going to get to stay in the UK. That's why it gets that.
Well, I'm going to pick apart Sir Keir Starmer's non-deal with the French. I've identified 6 aspects to it which mean that it's pants. And a royal insider has claimed that Prince William is plotting for Prince Andrew's to have his titles stripped completely. We'll be talking about that. And also, of course, reveal that the father of Sir Keir Starmer's top aide has apparently set up a firm that has coined in about £6.5 million from the Irish government for asylum accommodation. But if you want to be in the action in this studio on Friday, you can. Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, just like week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. Royal insiders have claimed that Prince William will take ruthless action to strip Prince Andrew of his royal status completely as soon as he becomes king. A new biography about the Duke of York and his ex-wife was laid out even more detail about his numerous alleged scandals, making new claims about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and state secrets being passed to authorities in the Middle East. The Duke continues to dominate news coverage. On our screens now is today's Daily Mirror front page. Epstein, the Queen and the royal box. Apparently he took Jeffrey Epstein to the royal box when the Queen was still at Ascot. I mean, it's just shocking stuff, isn't it? Meanwhile, Prince Harry has accused the Charity Commission of sitting on the fence as it criticised all parties for failures at his Centre Barley charity after that catastrophic row he had with the former chairwoman. Joining me now is royal commentator Jenny Bond. Jenny, thank you very much. Let's start with Prince Andrew. So will William strip him of his titles?
I rather doubt it, and this is, one presumes, quite a long way ahead in any case. I think that there is bad blood between William and Andrew. I think that William has been very, very firm on asking his father and his grandmother not to include Andrew in any official engagements. You remember the Garter ceremony when, allegedly, and I think it's probably true, William said, look, if you're going to let Andrew walk in that Garter ceremony, I will not. And Andrew was banned from doing so. So I don't think it's got any time for him. But when he becomes king, you know, I'm not sure he is going to feel that a top priority was to ask the government, which is what would have to happen. There would have to be legislation and valuable government time would have to be taken up over this man. And I'm not sure that William feels that that would be the right thing to do.
It sets a marker down, though, wouldn't it, to be fair? I mean, I don't know, but I would have thought there's a good chance it would be quite a popular thing for Prince William to do.
It might be, but it's a bit petty, isn't it? It's a bit petty and it's a bit vindictive. You know, he can do all sorts of other things. He can definitely kick Andrew out of Royal Lodge if he was so inclined. There would be definitely a way of doing that. He can ban him from all family occasions as well as official occasions. He can act privately like that. I just think that taking up valuable government time, I'm not sure that would go down so well. Is Andrew so important that we have to do that?
Well, we'll see. I mean, again, I suppose it comes down to a little bit of media pressure, possibly, if he continues to appear on the front pages for all the wrong reasons. You know, maybe that could happen. Let's just move on to another royal story now, or kind of, in a way. Prince Harry. So the Charity Commission published a report after this catastrophic fallout that he had with the Centre Bali charity, and he was actually cleared of any wrongdoing by that, I believe. But the Charity Commission have essentially said that he's brought that charity and potentially the charity sector into disrepute. How damaging is this for Prince Harry?
Well, he's devastated by it. He said he's devastated. I think he's very angry about it as well. I mean, he has been, crucially, he has been vindicated of the allegations of bullying, of harassment, of misogyny and misogynoir. And that will please him. But on the other hand, the woman that he sees as the cause of all this, the chair, Dr. Sophie Chandolkar, she is still in place. And I think she will feel vindicated because basically Harry is gone and he's not going to go back to Centre Bali, the charity now. And she is in place. He sees it as a hostile takeover and he's very angry about it. But he has said that he's going to continue helping the children of Lesotho and Botswana in other ways. I hope it's not setting up a rival charity because I think that would be a petty move as well.
Well, possibly, although I don't know, I suppose more charity the better in a way. But when it comes to that specifically, though, why would, with someone with his presence and his still royal title and his connections, why would any charity want to get rid of him?
Well, there was a terrible clash of personalities, and the Charity Commission say that there was a lot of internal squabbling. There wasn't a proper policy for internal disputes. It accepts that people did feel mistreated. They were unhappy, but they didn't know how to address these claims. So it does seem, and to be fair, this is really what Dr. Chandolkar was saying, that there were a lot of problems that needed to be sorted out. She blamed the patrons, the princes, the two princes who set it up, Harry and also Princess of Lesotho. She blamed them, but they blamed her.
OK, all right. I mean, you know, I do think that Prince William has got a big job on his hands. I mean, hopefully, for the obvious reason, he isn't king anytime soon. However, King Charles's judgment, or certainly that of his aides, has been called into significant question recently with this seemingly relentless focus on diversity and promotion of numerous other faiths apart from Christianity. We've got the Prince Andrew issue we've spoken about there. We've got the Harry issue as well. I mean, good grief. Prince William must be waiting in the wings thinking he's got a heck of a job on. But, Jenny, thank you very, very much. Jenny Bond there, royal commentator. Lovely to see you as ever. Coming up, it's a big one, this. It's a TV exclusive. I reveal that the father of Sir Keir Starmer's top aide set up a company that was paid around £6.5 million by the Irish government for asylum seeker accommodation. Quite interesting, this, when you consider the mastermind of Sir Keir Starmer's landslide victory is a man called Morgan McSweeney. Sir Keir Starmer was elected on a ticket of smashing the gangs and ending the use of asylum seeker accommodation. Meanwhile, just across the sea there, his father appears to have been setting up a company and making money from that company, potentially, that was actually helping with asylum seeker accommodation. Remarkable. Stay tuned.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, we do have some wetter weather pushing its way through as we go through tonight and into tomorrow, but for the time being, it's still staying largely dry for many places as we go through the rest of this evening because there is high pressure still lingering across us. But then this weather system towards the northwest is making its way in across Scotland and Northern Ireland, bringing cloud, bringing rain and some strong gusty winds. Could be some heavy bursts of rain and perhaps gales in exposed spots. And that rain then feeding into northern western parts of England and Wales as we head towards dawn tomorrow as well. For many, it's going to be a milder night than last night. Temperatures generally holding up in the mid-teens Celsius, even towards the southeast, where it's going to stay dry and where it's going to be largely clear. Then through tomorrow morning, a bright start to the day across many southeastern parts, but cloudier across central western parts of England and into Wales, where we have the band of rain lingering, and that continues its way across parts of northern England too. Behind that frontal system, though, across Scotland and Northern Ireland, things will be brightening up as we go through the morning. So some sunny spells, but also a scattering of showers and still some blustery winds. The front does gradually edge a little bit further southeast, so in the far southeast of the country, it is going to turn cloudier as we go into the afternoon. But as that front makes its way across, it's breaking up, it's fragmenting, so really not a huge amount of rain for many as we go into the afternoon. Just a few showers across northern and western parts in particular. Temperatures are going to be a degree or so down compared to today, and with the cloudier skies, blustery winds and a bit of rain around, feeling fresher as well. Into Friday, and for many it is going to be a fine day. Some decent sunshine on offer once again, but across northern parts, particularly the far north of Scotland, here it's looking blustery and it's looking quite wet. More wet weather to come across far northern parts as we go through this weekend, but further south, largely dry, often sunny and turning hotter.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Let us take on some of your financial stresses and pay your mortgage or rent for the next 12 months. We want to give you a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an unbelievable £20,000. We'll also boost that by a further £5,000, so you really could have some fun in the coming year. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight.
It's going to get to stay in the UK. That's why. Well,
Sir Keir Starmer's deal with France isn't worth the paper it's written on. Plus, could the French send us ISIS terrorists in return for those that we send back? And
seeing the biggest landslide, the biggest majority for a Labour Party since Tony Blair's in 1997.
A TV exclusive. I reveal that the father of Sir Keir Starmer's top aide set up a company that appears to have been paid around £6.5 million by the Irish government for what we believe to be asylum seeker accommodation. Also, an astonishing story in the Eye. They claim that the homelessness minister chucked 4 tenants out of her London townhouse before relisting the property with a significantly higher rent. Bit shameless, isn't it? And devastating wildfires in holiday hotspots. On my panel tonight, we have got the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, businessman and activist, Adam Brooks, probably the Director of something there, to be fair, and journalist and broadcaster, Nina Mishkov. And what happens next here? Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Sir Keir Starmer has surrendered to the French. Next.
Very good evening to you. The top story at 10 o'clock. Well, more than 150 migrants have crossed the Channel today, just a day after the UK and France signed a new returns deal. Border Force vessels Typhoon and Ranger picked up multiple groups, with dozens arriving in Dover by midday. But questions are already being raised over a potential loophole in the agreement, which could allow some to avoid deportation by claiming human rights protections or saying they're under the age of 18. Dame Angela Eagles dismissed those loophole concerns, but critics warn it could derail efforts to smash the gangs. The Prime Minister has said he doesn't recognise claims that Labour will need to raise taxes this autumn. It follows a stark warning to the Chancellor Rachel Reeves that she may have to break her promise to avoid tax hikes as a £50 billion black hole has emerged in the public finances. The National Institute of Economic and Social Research says Labour is now set to miss its own targets and spending plans, fuelling speculation of further tax rises. In the US, Donald Trump is reportedly planning face-to-face talks with the Russian president as soon as next week. According to the New York Times, a three-way meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, could follow. It's after Trump briefed European leaders on a call earlier today. It also comes after Trump's envoy met with Vladimir Putin in Russia earlier, with the president later writing that great progress has been made. It's worth noting, though, the White House hasn't yet commented if they hold signs backing the group, now classified as a terrorist organisation under the Terrorism Act. A High Court hearing in November will then decide if the ban was unlawful, after a judge said the challenge raised reasonably arguable beliefs. More than 200 people have already been arrested at protests, but none have been charged. Campaigners are accusing police, therefore, of inconsistency and overreach. The Met says anyone showing support for Palestine action can and will be arrested. And take a look at these live pictures from Hawaii, where the Kilauea volcano has erupted yet again, the second time in just weeks, in spectacular style. Earlier, lava jets were seen soaring over 1,000 feet into the air. It's the second eruption at the summit in just a few months, with flows from both the north and south vents lighting up the crater. Lava first broke through just around 1 a.m. this morning local time and has continued flowing, fountaining and pouring gas plumes into the air. Those are the latest headlines. That's it from me. I will get rid of the director in my ear and be back with you at 11.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening. Let's pick apart the government's new illegal migration deal with France. It's so shambolic, it's beyond parody. The UK will pay the costs of transporting all migrants to and from France. You will be paying for everything. You'll pay for Border Force to bring the illegals into Britain when they're in the Channel. You'll pay for their detention, their accommodation, potentially even some legal fees in the meantime as well. Then you'll pay for them to be sent back to France. And then you'll pay for the French to send a load more in their place. Secondly, The deal can be ended with just 1 month's notice by either side. And it has to be renewed by June the 11th next year, reportedly. So as it stands, it won't even be enforced for a year by the time it has to be renewed again. Thirdly, the French have no obligation to give us any information about who it is they're sending over. We know that we've had murderers, paedophiles, rapists and even ISIS sleeper cells who have come across the channel.
Are terrorists and terrorist sympathisers who are breaking into our country on small boats and on the back of lorries, who pose a very serious threat to the British public. The small boats crisis, as I've now been saying for years, is a national security emergency.
It appears the French don't have to tell us anything about the people they give us. Fourthly, illegal migrants might be able to use a human rights loophole to avoid being sent back to France. Now, it seems as though there is a clause in this pathetic non-deal that says if they are to be sent back to France, we must confirm they have no outstanding human rights claims in the UK. Well, we have a whole industry of, in my view, traitorous human rights lawyers in Britain who seem to be able to claim anything in order to keep their client in the country. For example, they can claim their client is the victim of modern slavery, despite their client willingly paying someone to bring them to Britain. They seem to be able to claim that things like their client's detention itself has caused them alarm and distress. They could claim that there's a gang who might kill them in France. It seems to me they can claim all sorts of things. I mean, the appeals process is ridiculous. Do you remember Abdulazidi, who doused a woman and child in acid in Clapham? He'd been refused asylum several times and committed a sex offence in Britain. He then went on to claim, or certainly his lawyer did, that he'd become a Christian man and was approved at the third attempt. He did have a Muslim funeral, by the way, so read into that what you will. Anyway, the fifth issue. The Home Secretary can't or won't put a number on how many people we will actually send back to France.
What number do you think a successful scheme would have?
Well, part of what we're doing here is trialling the concept. So we're not setting out the numbers, and there's some specific reasons for that. The reasons for not setting out the numbers is, firstly, the numbers will vary.
Where would you like that number to be, say, in a year's time?
Well, look, nobody should be making those boat crossings at all because they undermine border security, they put lives at risk. Of course, we want those numbers to come down. We want them to come down as swiftly as possible.
How far down?
And, well, I don't want to see anybody making those crossings.
Let's move on to issue number 6. The Home Secretary is unable to say when this returns deal will start.
Taking place in August.
So, again, we need to work those processes through, but we want to see the returns themselves take place as swiftly as possible.
You can't
bear in mind, people will be detained until they are returned, so
but
they
you're
will
unable
remain
to say
in
August,
detention. Well, as I said, we want this to be in a matter of weeks. Some of those cases we hope will be able to take place very quickly.
Bit of a grey area there. Just to add insult to injury, today it emerged that President Trump is going to deport hundreds of migrants to Rwanda. And, well, it looks as though they might be going to be housed in accommodation that the British taxpayer paid for under the Rwanda scheme. That Sir Keir Starmer scrapped. And just finally, the Home Office put this out today. The UK is a tolerant country, but there are rules and they must be followed. Those who come here legally and make a contribution will always have a place. Those with no right to be here will be removed, with over 35,000 already returned since July 2024. Talking tough there, saying that more than 35,000 people have been deported. All right. Well, as of March, they claim that they deported 24,000 people. In reality, 17,661 of them appear to have left voluntarily. So let's just recap this new deal, all right? UK pays all transport costs. The deal can be ended by either side with a month's notice. France might send us wrong-uns. And we might not be able to return everyone/anyone. The Home Secretary won't say how many will be deported, and the Home deportations will start. But apart from that, this is the best deal I've ever seen. Let's get thoughts from my panel now. We have got a Director of Public Services, Mark Littlewood. We've got businessman and activist Adam Brooks and broadcaster and journalist Nina Mishkov. Mark, this deal, is it worth the paper it's written on?
No, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's worse than that. I think this is likely to make things worse overall. So I mean, we'd be better off with no deal at all, as far as I can see. You've listed a range of the problems there. I mean, let's be optimistic for a moment. Let's assume one in, one out works, right, in some sort of way, despite all of the hurdles that you've just outlined, Patrick. Well, I mean, that doesn't really solve the problem, does it? I mean, we need something more like 0 in and 1 million out is probably the scale of the problem we're dealing with. And for the reasons you've just said, it seems to me, you know, we might be sending off, I don't know, shoplifters to France in exchange for a paedophile or a terrorist coming the other way. That might be the risk. We don't know that. So I don't know what this is attempting to achieve, really. What's the point of 1 in, 1 out? In fairly rudimentary maths terms, that's not going to cut the total number. I'm sceptical this will get off the ground at all. The devil in the detail there about we can only send people to France if they have exhausted all of their human rights claims. Well, that can be years for each and every single claimant. So I have no idea what the government was attempting to achieve. They've had more than a year to put in place their system. I'm sympathetic that I did not necessarily expect them to solve this problem overnight, but they didn't have a plan. It's taken them a year to get a plan, and this plan will not work.
OK, Adam, your take on these potential pitfalls of this plan?
It's beyond belief, if I'm honest. This is utter PR, just to try and persuade a few of the British public that they're actually doing something. They're not. As Mark said, I think this will make it worse. The smugglers will be laughing at this. We have got a national emergency here. I cannot see how our MPs and government cannot see that. I live this. In Epping, I speak to the parents of girls who are harassed, who are followed, are flashed. There's an alleged sexual assault. The town is being ruined by asylum seekers, the same people that are coming across these boats every day. Greece and Australia physically turned round the boats and they solved their problem. What is the worst that's going to happen to our government? They're going to get a ticking off in an international court. What we need to do, we need to detain in fenced camps so these people cannot terrorise our communities. We need to suspend all asylum claims except women and children. We're not monsters. I would like to help women and children if they're hard up and coming from war-torn countries. And then stop all benefits to foreign-born that have not been here 10 years. That ends this crisis, right? And the British public would thank Keir Starmer to do it and probably vote for him.
All right. Well, look, Nina, you know, are we being a bit unfair here? Does it need a bit of time to work? You know, maybe this will be a suitable deterrent and it'll stop the boats?
I watched Yvette Cooper on television yesterday morning, not on, as you pointed out.
Absolutely, yes, quite.
GB News.
Too busy.
So, well, she was very busy. Saying that they do not claim this is a silver bullet that will solve everything, but there's got to be a start somewhere. And one of the points that comes out of this is that this is the first time that migrants will be processed or can apply on foreign soil, on French soil. Now, we've not had that at all since Brexit. We've not had that. So that's a little wedge in the door to open that up a bit. What we need are hubs in other countries where people can apply safely and be rejected, and then we don't ever see them at all. So that's a beginning. Also, Lisa Nandy said on television this morning that they would, if there was a human rights claim, that would be dealt with in France. So that has not been denied by Number 10. I mean, there may be a statement about it tomorrow, but that's what she said, and that she said that I think it was Chris Phelps who'd pointed that out. She said that he'd misconstrued it, or he just misunderstood it.
Well, that's an interesting point, and just on that exact point, actually. So Dame Angela Eagle, as also, she is the Minister for Border and Asylum, I think the title is. Full security checks on any applicants will be able to be done. So this is it. So full security checks on any applicants will be able to be done. But there does appear to be a lot of confusion about this, because I've read the article in the deal. That's not my interpretation of it, and that wasn't the interpretation from the Shadow Home Secretary, and it's not been the interpretation of a lawyer that I've spoken to about it as well. However, this is Labour's interpretation of it. They supposedly wrote this deal, so maybe we have to give them the benefit of the doubt there. But ultimately, it's whether or not this is just a gimmick, Mark, that Keir Starmer said he wasn't going to do. And the extra kick in the nuts, of course, appears to be that Trump seems to be about to use a load of accommodation that we've built in Rwanda.
Yeah, we spent quite a lot of money to try and sort out the American immigration problem, haven't we? Haven't done so well ourselves. So, yeah, Donald Trump owes us one. Yeah, I mean, it is a gimmick because, as I say, even if it works, one in, one out is nowhere good enough, right? And I would have assumed, I'm not a human rights lawyer, but I would have assumed people will wait till their feet are on British soil before making their human rights
this
claim.
is it.
Like, that's what they'll do.
And if you claim immediately, that's the thing.
These people are good at gaming the system and are well advised on how to game the system. So I think there's quite a lot of wishful thinking by Labour ministers here. And I suspect, my guess, is they will be outfoxed yet again by the smuggling gangs and the asylum seekers.
And the lawyers.
And the lawyers.
Why are Greece allowed to detain and threaten 5-year sentences for illegal entry and we can't? Why can that not happen?
They're part of the European
Final word from you,
Union.
Nina. Go on.
Have that rule here if we
Listen,
want.
there are a range of options that Keir Starmer is pursuing. This is merely one of them. And as I've said before, you cannot turn this off like a tap.
Okay.
It's a massive.
Donald
business.
Trump did.
It's a. Well,
overnight.
We're not living in a dictatorship, are we?
He's not a dictator.
Well, America.
On that note,
voted for him,
guys,
but my God,
I like Adam's plan. I like Adam's plan. That's what the government should do.
On that point, now, regular viewers and listeners might be thinking, oh, gosh, he's going to the break a little bit early. Well, I am, and that's because we've got quite a chunky section coming your way next. I think it is I certainly think it's an interesting story, one that I think will interest you. I'm going to tell you about that. I think it is quite bombshell stuff, actually, but I'm going to tell you about that immediately after I've told you how you can enter our latest Great British giveaway. Yay! Look, you can basically live mortgage-free for a year and get $5,000, and if you don't have a mortgage, you can get $15,000. Here's how.
This is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year in the latest Great British giveaway. That's right, we'll give you a cash lump sum that will cover 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an incredible £20,000. Plus, we'll add £5,000 on top of that for you to treat yourself. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 in cash instead. You have to hurry though, as lines will close on the 29th of August. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. So next, a TV exclusive, I reveal that the father of Sir Keir Starmer's top aide set up a company that was paid around £6.5 million by the Irish government for asylum seeker accommodation. Stay tuned.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
That stark warning comes as the Justice Secretary approves the trial of taser stun guns ahead of the likely rollout to male prisons.
Well, it follows violent attacks on officers in recent months by two of the country's most dangerous and notorious inmates. Mark White reports.
At this security facility, a mock scenario of the type of violence that's all too common within our prisons. But as the Justice Secretary looks on, those playing the role of perpetrators are about to face a new tactic. Tasers are a very familiar option within frontline policing. But until now, these weapons have not been available to help protect the men and women dealing with some of the country's most violent offenders. That's all about to change.
Drop that weapon, do it now!
As the government begins the trials process ahead of the likely rollout of Taser within male prisons.
I know that staff have been crying out for tasers to be authorised for use across the adult male estate, and I was very pleased to be able to sign off on this trial. It will run over the summer period, and it's designed to make sure that we can learn lessons about the use of tasers within a custodial environment, which is different to how tasers are normally used.
It was shocking attacks on prison officers, alleged to have been carried out by two of the country's most notorious inmates, that focus national attention on the real dangers faced by prison staff.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The father of Sir Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff helped to set up a company in Ireland that seems to have received millions of pounds, apparently, to provide asylum seeker accommodation. The mastermind behind Sir Keir Starmer's landslide general election victory is a man called Morgan McSweeney. He was Sir Keir Starmer's campaign manager. He's now Downing Street's Chief of Staff. Now, as you'll remember, Sir Keir Starmer was elected on a couple of promises. Firstly,
serious answer is to smash the gangs. We have to take those gangs down, to smash the gangs that are running this vile trade, to smash these gangs.
Labour also pledged to end the use of asylum seeker hotels.
We will be ending the costly use of hotels to house asylum seekers in this Parliament.
Well, in a TV exclusive, GB News can reveal that Morgan McSweeney's father, Timothy McSweeney, helped set up a company and appears to be the director and accountant of that company that has received somewhere in the region of £6.5 million from the Irish government to apparently help provide asylum seeker accommodation. I do want to credit an Irish business owner who now says that he's running for president, Nick Delahanty, for initially alerting people to this alleged situation. But here are the facts as we understand them, OK? So Timothy McSweeney set up a company called Togail Vailbit Glass Tiranta. Please excuse my lack of Irish pronunciation there. Now, as I've said, he appears to be a director of that company. Now, I haven't seen the company documents confirming this, but his comment to the Daily Mail suggests that he's the accountant. The Irish government publishes a record of money they give to companies to help with asylum seeker and refugee accommodation. Here it is, there, or at least some of it. There we are. That's the home page of it. Now, if you go through the quarterly records, you will see the name of Morgan McSweeney's father's company appears quite often, alongside what I think most people at home would regard as being large sums of money. And that money is listed as being for IP accommodation and related costs. Now, IP accommodation means people requesting international protection, i.e. asylum seekers. The accounts appear to suggest that Morgan McSweeney's father's company received hundreds of thousands of euros related to asylum seeker accommodation in the first quarter of 2025 alone. The company has received regular payments for a number of years, including, as far as I can tell by looking through these documents, one for more than €918,000 in 2023. The payments that we have been able to see add up to somewhere in the region of £6.5 million. So this means that while Sir Keir Starmer was campaigning on a ticket of smashing the gangs and ending asylum hotel use, the father of his campaign manager was seemingly the director of a company that was receiving vast amounts of Irish taxpayers' money from asylum accommodation. Now, I must say that the Home Office says that fewer than 210 hotels are now being used to house asylum seekers, which is down from more than 400 in the summer of 2023. However, according to the latest available data, 32,345 asylum seekers were being housed in hotels at the end of March 2025, which is up from the 29,500 or so at the end of June 2024. Now, it also seems that the whole time that Sir Keir Starmer has been Prime Minister, this has been going on as well in relation to the Irish government and the money for asylum accommodation over there. Tim McSweeney provided no comment when we approached him directly, but he did previously dismiss any suggestion that he was benefiting directly from the contracts. He said, "Do I look like a wealthy man? I don't think so. It's just a job I have. It is not unusual for accountants to fulfil roles like this." And to be clear, there is no indication that this has compromised Morgan McSweeney in any way. Doesn't appear to have personally received any money or anything like that, nor that it's influenced policy-making decisions over here. And the Irish government and Timothy McSweeney operates in a separate jurisdiction from the British government. So I want to make all that very, very clear. Of course, any policy set out by the Irish government is a matter for them. It's not for the British government. But we did ask Morgan McSweeney if he was aware of his father's business interests, and we have not received a response to that. Now, a quick search, though, through Irish media does reveal several news articles that certainly give the impression that the family is very close and that they have a good relationship, and indeed that they're very proud of their son's achievements in British politics. In fact, in one article, Timothy McSweeney is quoted as saying his son grew up in the atmosphere of politics, that politics is in his genes, and that he was delighted that his son joined Labour and not the Tories. Look, fundamentally, we may never know for sure whether Morgan McSweeney had any knowledge of his father's apparent business interests. I do contend that this is very embarrassing for both the Prime Minister and his Chief of Staff, and if he did have knowledge, it will raise questions about how sincere people right at the core of this Labour government really are when it comes to wanting to stop illegal immigration. Joining me now is the Deputy Political Editor at The Spectator, James Heal. James, thank you very much. Well, look, it's an interesting story, this. I mean, the line from Number 10, really, is that this is a non-story. You know, why are we even doing it, really? But I think there is a public interest here, James.
Yeah, and I think that that's why there's been some coverage of this issue. And I think that, look, anything to do, frankly, with the Number 10 Chief of Staff is always going to be something of interest in the public realm. And so I think that you've laid out the facts very clearly there, Patrick, but I think it does sort of put a reminder on this key figure of Morgan McSweeney, who, of course, got the job of Number 10 Chief of Staff. After the previous one, Sue Gray, who ended up being in the headlines all the time. There were lots of stories about what she'd previously been like in government when she was in the Cabinet Office. So I do think kind of shining the light on who this person is, who obviously is clearly credited by all accounts and all quarters for being so influential in Labour circles and with Number 10 policymaking. Clearly, I think there's going to be some public interest in that.
Yeah, indeed. And look, like I said before, you know, this guy is, as you just said, credited as being the mastermind behind that landslide election victory. That mantra, smash the gang, smash the gang, smash the gangs, end the use of asylum hotels. Meanwhile, in the background, this appears to be going on. There's no implication of a conflict of interest, but I think it's quite an embarrassing revelation.
Yeah, I think there will be some embarrassment perhaps at this coming out, and obviously I don't think anyone in Labour would want this to have come out, and obviously it allows people to then write about the family and things, for instance, noting, for instance, that Morgan McSweeney's cousin works as a senior aide to the Irish government. Overall, though, I think that, you know, they'll be able to claim plausibly that, you know, this is a separate government, foreign affairs, different matter, different realm, and so therefore hasn't implicated anyone in it at all. But I do think your question was an interesting one, which you put to Number 10, and obviously they've declined to answer because they don't want to get any further in the weeds of this issue.
No, and it's all very well and good saying that it's an entirely separate issue, this the Irish jurisdiction and the UK jurisdiction. However, as we know, there is an incredibly porous border between, well, no real border at all, is there, between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. There have been several news reports in the past of illegal migrants, asylum seekers, traversing that border and going back and forth. So I do think it is reasonable to claim that when it does come to the issue of asylum and illegal immigration, there is an inherent link between the Republic of Ireland and the United Kingdom.
I think that actually perhaps maybe would help a Labour argument on this, which is that, look, it's not just a uniquely British issue we're facing here. This is also an Irish one as well. And of course, I remember last year the Conservative ministers were very keen to talk up how the Rwanda scheme was anecdotally seeming to deter people from coming to the UK, and instead people were going to Dublin instead. I think obviously we've got to have key border relations here on relationships between the two countries and how we deal with these issues. But I'm not sure necessarily that this story in itself is going to be a sufficient link. And I think it's interesting perhaps that the Conservatives, for instance, haven't jumped on this as you might have expected them to have done.
Just in terms of how you would play it with your strategic cap on here now, you know, do you think Morgan McSweeney should distance himself from some of the allegations here about his father's, you know, setting up this particular firm and what that firm appears to have been used for and received some funds for? You know, do you think he needs to distance himself from that or not?
Well, I think, Patrick, when it comes to my strategic brain, I learn from the most successful political institution in this country, which is the monarchy, which is never complain, never explain. And I think maybe that would be the best way of dealing with this one for them.
Fair enough. Just on a personal level, Morgan McSweeney, I mean, he is, to be fair, quite widely, quite, you know, well regarded, I think, by many behind the scenes, isn't he? And you know, it seems to have, he seems to have done quite well for himself, doesn't he? So on a personal level, he seems. What's he like? Do we know much about him?
I think he's well regarded as a Labour operator, someone who was quite shrewd, was able to see during the Corbyn era where things were going in terms of who'd be the most likely to succeed, and it was going to be someone on the soft left, and that was Keir Starmer. And so actually, you know, if you read certain accounts, and Gabriel Pogrund and Patrick Maguire have written an excellent book about it, I mean, it does seem sometimes as though, you know, he really is the most important person with getting Labour electable and making Keir Starmer Prime Minister. So we know that he's very shrewd, we know he's a sort of versed in Labour politics, and someone who spent about 20 years. So I think he's someone not to be underestimated, and someone who's Labour through and through.
All right, James, well, look, thank you very, very much for your time this evening. Tremendous to have you as always. James Hill there, who's Deputy Political Editor at The Spectator. Look, I just want to emphasise again, because I think I am aware anyway, that Number 10 are actually watching this now, so hello. What I will say is that us here at GB News had approached them for comment on every single piece of information and allegation that we put out there several times over the course of a number of days. They have declined to really give any comment whatsoever on that. That's their right, that's their choice, and that is, of course, fair enough. I will make the point again, there is absolutely no allegation of any illegality, of any conflict of interest, or anything wrongdoing, or any influence that what may or may not be going on with Morgan McSweeney's father has had on Morgan McSweeney or Downing Street policy, and they are very keen to try to emphasise to us that they claim that the use of asylum seeker hotels has fallen. However, I will just say, if you are watching Number 10, then, you know, maybe you could put a minister up every now and again. Anyway, coming up, the front pages have landed, and an astonishing story is in the eye. Oh, here we go. Gosh. Oh, they claim that the homelessness minister for Labour has chucked 4 tenants out of her London townhouse before relisting the property with a significantly higher rent. Stay tuned.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
There's some hot air across parts of northern Africa at the moment, and as that's feeding its way northwards, it's going to push into Spain and Portugal. And here we're going to see temperatures rising through the next few days, could get into the low 40s at times. Otherwise, there will be a spell of showery rain affecting Gibraltar perhaps on Thursday, and a few showers across Italy and also into Greece and Turkey, but slightly fewer than I'm expecting through today. And the outlook for many is looking sunny and fairly hot.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, we do have some wetter weather pushing its way through as we go through tonight and into tomorrow, but for the time being, it's still staying largely dry for many places as we go through the rest of this evening because there is high pressure still lingering across us. But then this weather system towards the northwest is making its way in across Scotland and Northern Ireland, bringing cloud, bringing rain and some strong gusty winds. Could be some heavy bursts of rain and perhaps gales in exposed spots. And that rain then feeding into northern western parts of England and Wales as we head towards dawn tomorrow as well. For many, it's going to be a milder night than last night. Temperatures generally holding up in the mid-teens Celsius, even towards the southeast, where it's going to stay dry and where it's going to be largely clear. Then through tomorrow morning, a bright start to the day across many southeastern parts, but cloudier across central western parts of England and into Wales, where we have the band of rain lingering, and that continues its way across parts of northern England too. Behind that frontal system, though, across Scotland and Northern Ireland, things will be brightening up as we go through the morning. So some sunny spells, but also a scattering of showers and still some blustery winds. The front does gradually edge a little bit further southeast, so in the far southeast of the country, it is going to turn cloudier as we go into the afternoon. But as that front makes its way across, it's breaking up, it's fragmenting, so really not a huge amount of rain for many as we go into the afternoon. Just a few showers across northern and western parts in particular. Temperatures are going to be a degree or so down compared to today, and with the cloudier skies, blustery winds and a bit of rain around, feeling fresher as well. Into Friday, and for many it is going to be a fine day. Some decent sunshine on offer once again, but across northern parts, particularly the far north of Scotland, here it's looking blustery and it's looking quite wet. More wet weather to come across far northern parts as we go through this weekend, but further south, largely dry, often sunny and turning hotter.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Let's do the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, shall we? The Daily Telegraph. Starmer's pledge on tax thrown into chaos. PM refuses to rule out rises in VAT, income tax or national insurance. There we go. Also, a slightly bizarre story here at the bottom of the Daily Telegraph. Kemi Badenoch, Fritzl robbed me of my belief in God. Kemi Badenoch has revealed that the case of Joseph Fritzl made her turn away from God. So, arguably the bigger story, of course, is that President Trump is going to hold talks with Putin and Zelensky, but, you know, we can hold that for now. The Sun, here we go, triple chaos at the Beeb. BBC Stew, MasterChef airs with Axed 2. Right, female star showed vile pic. Breakfast Charlie is probed. This is the MasterChef saga. Apparently the BBC have chosen to air that particular series that they'd already got. We'll return to that. The Metro, I'm a doctor, get me out of here. Pledges by ministers to cut hospital waiting lists are under threat as a shock poll reveals almost 1 in 5 doctors are considering quitting the UK. The Daily Express, Labour's tax war is harming the economy. They've also got a picture of King Charles saluting RAF aces. The Independent, I've got next here. Starmer opens door to pledge-busting income tax rises. I mean, this is surely not. There's the other picture there about President Trump's envoy met Putin. I believe that Trump is going to meet Putin, apparently, in the coming days. The I paper, yes, I wondered if they were going to lead on this. It's a big story, I think. Labour's Minister for Homelessness ejects her tenants and then hikes the rent. The government's homelessness minister removed tenants from her East London townhouse before relisting the property for £4,000 a month, which is apparently an extra 700 quid in rent. It's Rushanara Ali. She's previously spoken out about private renters being exploited. Let's start with this. Mark, what do you make of it?
I mean, this is quite a shocker, isn't it? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Patrick, landlords should be able to rent to who they like for whatever price they like. And the tenant should look very carefully at the deal as you sign it. You know, if you want to rent my house for 10 years, I'd be charging you a very high premium. If you're happy just to stay there on an Airbnb for a few days, I would charge you less, but then I want rid of you at the end of it. So I don't object to landlords behaving in this fashion, but she and the Labour Party do.
Right.
They favour rent controls and all of the rest of it, or are leaning in that direction. This is exactly the behaviour by landlords that many in the Labour Party profess to find utterly objectionable, including, I mean, her excuse is that she wanted to sell the property, apparently couldn't, and then relisted it for rent. But she could have put it surely on the market even though it had tenants in it, right? So, well, I don't quite understand that explanation. Well, but it's one of those clear hypocrisy things, isn't it? It's the equivalent of, I don't believe in private schools. I think everybody should go to a state school, but I'm sending my own kids to private school. It's that sort of hypocrisy.
Yeah, the James O'Brien approach, who came out and said that his father would haunt him if he hadn't have sent his children to private school, which is why he did it. Great.
Yeah.
You go on.
Look, if the Tories did this, Labour would be in uproar. Yet tomorrow we will see Labour MPs defending her. And
you think so? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we will. And that sums up the Labour Party to a T. They are hypocrites. And they were quick to point the finger at the Tories, but they're doing everything the Tories did as well.
Go on, Ian, you think should be condemned?
I think it's hypocrisy. I really do. But I don't think it's anything, and I don't think it should happen. And Labour are bringing in a rule that means that you can't relist within 6 months. You can't raise the rent within 6 months of ejecting people. And I think that's fair. But there's always one. There's always somebody, isn't there?
Not the homelessness minister.
I know. That's why I think it's complete hypocrisy, and I don't like it either. So you cannot defend it.
Does she have to go?
She's the homelessness minister, and she's just turned out 4 people onto the street.
And didn't we have a corruption minister that is now being investigated?
That's all right.
Allegedly.
Let's just
we'll leave it there. Okay.
But anyway,
yeah, I mean, she might go over there if she wasn't
denies any wrongdoing.
If she wasn't specifically the homeless minister, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly, it's wrong.
So do you think the Prime Minister will fire her?
No, I don't think probably he'll fire her. I mean, there's...
It's touch and go, I'd say.
Well, I mean, I think she should be. I think she should be moved from her job, actually.
Yes.
That is sheer hypocrisy.
Well, she's this good at surfing people out. She can work at the Home Office, can't she? All right. OK. We've got... I'm not sure how much longer I've got on this section, not that long, but let's do one of the other big front pages. I mean, The Independent, why not, I suppose? Because the headline's good. Starmer opens door to pledge-busting income tax rises. Mark, this could be... Yeah. I mean, well, it would... I think I'm right. This would be an overt break of a manifesto pledge.
This would be an unambiguous breach of their manifesto pledge. They could not have been clearer about this. I think when they increased national insurance contributions paid by employers, they were dancing on the head of a pin. But they could sort of say, well, it's technically on the business, not on working people. I mean, this would quite clearly be raising taxes on working people. They found it very difficult to define what a working person is. But if you were to raise VAT, for example, or income tax, you're clearly raising it on working people. They will move heaven and earth to try and stop that. What they're going to try and do, I think, is to recategorise quite a lot of government expenditure as investment, not consumption. That gets them off a hook, because they're only trying to cut the deficit for consumption spending. So if they're pretending they're investing rather than just spending, they will then try and find any other tax that they can hit that they can say isn't a tax on working people. But if you touch income tax, clearly and transparently is.
Yeah. To be fair, Mark, he wasn't asked a specific question on this. It wasn't like he's denied it. It's just that he didn't say anything about it.
Well, he's refused to rule it out.
No. You say he refused to rule it out. Yeah. He wasn't said, "Are you going to raise taxes on
so
VAT?"
He's refused to rule it out.
And I am not going to. That's not what he said. This is an interpretation of what he did say.
I suppose it does follow.
That's the first line of the story. So Keir Starmer has refused to rule out income tax rises.
That's the way it's written. I watched what he said.
But during the general election,
I watched what he said.
During the general election, he could not have been clearer. During the general election campaign, he did rule it out.
But he's not.
Just in terms of from your...
Look, I'm a businessman and I'm in hospitality. One sector that is getting clobbered more than any other. The national insurance contributions has lost, I think, something like 200,000 hospitality jobs since the budget was announced. Tens of thousands of businesses are going skint. The high roads, I've got 2 restaurants in my high road that have gone bust in the last 3 months. If they put VAT up, we're done. I might as well hand my keys back in to the brewery and say I'm done, because that at the moment is too high at 20%. In much of Europe and like Ireland, that is nearly half what we pay for hospitality and tourism, which means it's an unfair, you know, and that means that people go and spend their money in restaurants and bars and pubs.
He didn't. The interpretation, if you watch what he actually said, and that was not what he said.
Did he rule it out?
You're assuming.
Did he rule it out? Yes or no?
No, but he wasn't asked the question.
Okay.
He didn't say that.
OK, all right, fair enough, fair enough.
Do you love Keir Starmer?
I don't like Keir Starmer. I think he's a boring, uncharismatic leader who doesn't communicate properly, but also.
And you're one of his biggest supporters.
I didn't vote for him.
You stick up for him every week.
But
fair enough.
He's also
Absolutely.
a ruthless bastard who
great. There goes the balance.
So on the one hand, he's boring. On the other hand, he's ruthless.
And the anti-Semitic wing of the Labour Party, and so you have to give him credit for that, and you have to give him a chance.
And,
all right.
And sorry for any children watching for Nina's language.
No, that's all right. And actually, you were quoting Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer quoted saying he was a hard enough B word previously to root out some people that were voting against him. So he might indeed credit you for saying that. So there we go. Right. Now let's go to. OK, all right. Sorry about the language. Right. Let's go to Kurdistan. That'll be a light relief after this. Grief. Let's go to Kurdistan, where one cyclist got a bit carried away too early. Yeah. All right, there we go. He was out in front, nothing but him in the finish line. Decided to celebrate a bit too early, stacked it. Anyway, coming up, loads more papers. Plus, there's still time to be part of my Friday night live studio audience show. Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Our reporter, Anna Riley, is in Ilkley. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Oh,
Hey, by gum, what accents you've got there this morning. Happy Yorkshire Day and welcome to Ilkley. It certainly is God's own country, is Yorkshire. Absolutely splendid place, and of course we're so proud of our culture. We've got our own language, we've got our own sayings, and it's just a beautiful part of the world. Celebrated every year on the 1st of August. It's arranged by the Yorkshire Society, and it's all about celebrating our heritage, and it's going to be great for businesses as well as the town here today. We're going to have a procession of mayors coming through later this morning, the largest gathering of civic mayors in the world, and we're going to hear the town crier and also on Ilkley Moor bar taps, which means on Ilkley Moor without your hats. The unofficial anthem of Yorkshire is going to be sung. We're joined this morning now by Joe Smith. He's the retail manager of Lishman's of Ilkley, and of course a butcher with a pork pie. Good morning. Good morning. Tell us about Yorkshire Day and what it means to you.
So Yorkshire Day for us is very good for the business and all the local authorities. It brings all people down to the shop celebrating Yorkshire Day. I think today will especially be great.
What is it about Yorkshire folk and about the countryside that we've got here as well, the moors, and what do you think draws people here?
Well, it's just the natural beauty, and it's away from everything. You know, we're not in the city, we're in a really nice kind of area.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racist tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back. Here are the rest of tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you. The Times. Wealthier areas face big rise in council tax. So they're redirecting cash from deprived authorities. So if you happen to live in a wealthier area, be interesting to see when we get in more detail on this. We've obviously got a newspaper show following this, by the way, which is handy because we can have more detail on this and find out what they define as a wealthy area. But there we go. Right, the Daily Mail. HMRC staff hold class on guilt of being British. Kemi leads backlash over tax officials' nonsense seminar during office hours. The Guardian, leading academics call on UK to reverse ban on Palestine action. Right, there we go. Let's focus on the Daily Mail. I appreciate we're getting this for the first time, but Mark, go on.
We've got to get back to people, whether they work for HMRC or some other part of the public sector. Stick in your lane. During office hours, I want these people processing tax returns, answering phone calls about, errors that might have been made or corrections that need to be made. I actually don't care whether they feel guilty about being British or not. It's nothing to do with their job. The job is to process tax, collection and returns.
What the heck is this?
Everything else is a hobby that should not be in any way covered in their working hours at the expense of the taxpayer. Utter nonsense.
So hundreds of thousands of calls from taxpayers went unanswered every single month.
Yeah.
Customers were cut off abruptly. MPs voiced concerns about a failing phone service at HMRC. And it would appear that they've done a seminar. You seem to think within working hours, during office hours, on the guilt of being British.
What's that got to do with their job?
Now I know why my last call was an hour and 20 minutes. With these, I'm not being funny.
No,
this is just embarrassing, and I don't think there's any other country in the world that has people like
do they
this.
need to have a seminar on this?
But don't you find that anybody you ring up, any institution you ring up, you're on the phone. I rang up an insurance company and I was on the phone for an hour and 10 minutes. And when I finally got through to the guy...
He said, sorry, we've been talking about how guilty we feel about being British.
No,
you feel guilty.
He said I could hear a dog barking in the background, so you knew he was working from home, unless they have a dog.
That company will go bust.
Won't be a British bulldog, will it?
One of the biggest insurance companies.
They are under pressure from market forces.
People need to get back to the office. Frankly, I am really
sorry, but
they're in the office doing these seminars.
But they need to. There needs to be a complete overhaul because although people need a work-life balance. It has gone too far the other way.
I want to see seminars in places on being proud to be British.
Yeah.
I want to see, we've given the world a heck of a lot. It's a magnificent thing. You go and cut down the road from where HMRC's head office is. You will see rows and rows of tourists. The world wants to come to Britain. The world wants to come and see our range of cities, but our capital city, our countryside. They love our flag. They love our music. They love our culture. And in there, we've got some absolute plebs who are probably in charge of your tax return, talking about how guilty they feel about it.
Unfortunately, the people that lap this up would rather have a Palestine flag than a British flag, and that is the truth of it now in this country.
I think that's a big leap. I think that's a big leap to say that. Come on.
But we are all agreeing this is a complete waste of...
Just look at a Labour conference.
We are agreed this is a complete waste. All of us are agreed this is a complete waste of time and money. Yeah?
I agree it's a complete waste of time and money, but it's too much of a leap to say that anybody who goes has...
That laps it up, I said, Nina.
Well, I do wonder as well, I would love to see who actually had turned up. Is it Like, was it the white working class Brits that work in the office? Is it, I don't know, is it people? I'd just be amazed to see who
I'd like to know who convened this seminar.
Yeah.
Who sent round the all-staff bulletin?
It was
Saying,
Tarquin.
are you feeling guilty about being British? Good news. Put down your pens at 2 o'clock.
It was Tarquin and Sebastian.
Tarquin and Sebastian. Well, well done, Tarquin. Good luck with my tax return, because it's probably a complete mess. Anyway, right, thank you very much, everybody. We have got a whole nother hour, late edition. This is a real range of stories on tomorrow's newspaper front pages, so don't miss it.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, we do have some wetter weather pushing its way through as we go through tonight and into tomorrow, but for the time being, it's still staying largely dry for many places as we go through the rest of this evening, because there is high pressure still lingering across us. But then this weather system towards the northwest is making its way in across Scotland and Northern Ireland, bringing cloud, bringing rain and some strong gusty winds. Could be some heavy bursts of rain and perhaps gales in exposed spots. And that rain then feeding into northern western parts of England and Wales as we head towards dawn tomorrow as well. For many, it's going to be a milder night than last night. Temperatures generally holding up in the mid-teens Celsius, even towards the southeast, where it's going to stay dry and where it's going to be largely clear. Then through tomorrow morning, a bright start to the day across many southeastern parts, but cloudier across central western parts of England and into Wales, where we have the band of rain lingering, and that continues its way across parts of northern England too. Behind that frontal system, though, across Scotland and Northern Ireland, things will be brightening up as we go through the morning. So some sunny spells, but also a scattering of showers and still some blustery winds. The front does gradually edge a little bit further southeast, so in the far southeast of the country, it is going to turn cloudier as we go into the afternoon. But as that front makes its way across, it's breaking up, it's fragmenting. So really not a huge amount of rain for many as we go into the afternoon. Just a few showers across northern and western parts in particular. Temperatures are going to be a degree or so down compared to today, and with